It's the book of Revelations. It's the book of Revelations, chapter 12 and verse 12. And it reads, "Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time." I'm going to start off by giving all praise, all honor, all glory to call Loyam, La Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Hakodash, double honors to the elders, to the apostles that learned this truth from. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives, freedom to do so, now more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and the Aquat that they're listening and learning, Lord willing, this is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad, and the land of other nations appearing like the other nations, but who subscribe to this truth. So you'll say Shalom. Brother Yahweh, stop coming at you with another lesson through the Spirit and through the power of Yahweh. Hashem Yahushai, Yahweh meaning he is, he exists, or he to be. By Hashem, by his in, Haz, Dush, in his name. Yahushai meaning he saves, or he delivers. True names of the Most High God and His Son. People ignorantly call God and Jesus Christ, but whose true name, depending on Hebrew, is Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. This lesson is inspired by, pretty much, it's inspired by, it's a video by the guy Patrick Humphrey. I forgot who put me on to Patrick Humphrey, but I know it's a brother. And he be bringing out a lot of information. A few of them do, but at the same time, you got to be circumspect. What is that called? Project Zypher. I can't remember, but I know it's a project where they talk about, you got to get a lot of these people that's supposed to be bringing out truth. Everybody got podcasts and everybody's bringing out information, but a lot of that is misinformation. What do they say? They say you can bring out, 99% truth, but one lie makes it false. So, you got a lot of people that set up, elders and elder brothers always bring out, you got a term called controlled opposition. So they push a narrative. It may appear like they're against the establishment or they're against this and that, but at the same time, they secretly work in tandem with them. So anyhow, I'm gonna say fair use. I'm not profiting off of this. I'm just about to line some scriptures up with some information out of this video. Copyright Act, again, fair use, and Lord willing, it's edifying.
This is big breaking news. President Trump has just signed an executive order, and this is going to cause major changes internationally and also domestically inside the United States. We are also seeing a brand new militarized zone being set up by the U.S. military as well too. So let's get into all the details here. You can see Trump was at the White House earlier with top military leaders, and he made this announcement that he is signing this executive order, and we also have a new military zone for the southern border being set up. We will get into more details of that, but let's listen to President Trump first, really quick.
But there's no doubt that America's adversaries are trafficking fentanyl into the United States in part because they want to kill Americans. If this were a war, that would be one of the worst wars. I believe they killed, over the last 5 or 6 years, per year, 200 to 300,000 people. You hear about 100,000, which is a lot of people, but the number's much higher than that. That's been proven. And they've destroyed a lot of families. Because when they lose a child, or even if their child is heavily addicted, you lose that family. The family will never be the same. That's why today...
It's funny, though, because, when you go into that movie or that show Snowfall, and then you go into The Real Freeway, Ricky Ross, and pretty much how he, one of his connects was actually the government and, the Contra War and all, the facts and history that's actually based on this society. They didn't give a fuck when crack hit, Jake neighborhood, but it was spiritual too. They show you that in the Black Panthers, showing you again, the scriptures talk about if it be of the Most High, man can't stop it. Like they try to pretty much destroy Jake, but the drugs basically flooded all the neighborhoods. Esau Edom is the biggest addict that you're gonna find for real. And then such a hypocrite as well. Like he'll sit up there and it's not supposed to be illegal to drink. It's supposed to be illegal to be over the legal limit to drink. So when you break it down, I think it's like your body's supposed to consume like a beer or a shot or a glass of wine. Like all that's supposed to equate to the same amount of alcohol. So, you know, you drink that within an hour, you should be sober again. But more especially now, like when people are stressed out, they drink more. But the point is, you know, how Jake say, you know, it's funny because, you know, if they wanted motherfucker not to drink and drive, the bar wouldn't have a parking lot. You know, bars have parking lots for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Because you drive up to that bitch. You know what I mean? Again, like you say, now, just like a bartender supposed to be able to recognize when a person is intoxicated and cut them off. But do you really think they do that? You know, again, it's the hypocrisy of this place.
I am taking one more step to protect Americans from the scourge of deadly fentanyl flooding into our country.
Made me think of the scripture. He said, scourge. Ain't that second Ezra?
With this historic executive order I will sign today, we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction.
I want you to get that part. I'm going to take it back a little bit.
Americans from the scourge of deadly fentanyl flooding into our country. With this historic executive order I will sign today, we're formally classifying fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction, which is what it is. No bomb does what this is doing. 200 to 300,000 people die every year.
And so that's the point, you know. And you know, I find it, you know, auspicious and comical to a degree, because again, the devil basically addicted his own people. You know, again, they trying to use the aspect of, you know, he's going to fight Venezuela because they're flooding the, you know, Babylon the Great with drugs. But we know that Babylon the Great, the drugs come through Mexico. You know, that's why you got Mexico and Venezuela, like, they don't see eye to eye, you know. Yeah, at one point in time it was Colombia, you know, and Venezuela does have narcotics, but the drugs, why do you think the cartels have such a stranglehold? You know, like, I'm sure that they got that president paid off. You know, when you go into Mexico, like, they military move drugs. I forgot what they call it, but you know, like, they make so much money off drugs. They cartels are militarized. Why do you think that president's talking about she doesn't want help from Babylon the Great or Trump in order to, like, basically stop the cartels? Because more than likely they paying her. You know, well, you're going to see how corrupt this planet really truly is. On top of this bitch being a small head, right? But it caught my attention because, you know, fentanyl, you know, the thing is, like, I got a testimony. I knew a guy I grew up with that was on fentanyl. And, you know, it's funny, Jake be so fucked up and out of it, you know, Jake just be lost. This man, you know, was in the streets. I'm talking about, like, this guy was a pusher. You know, he was a drug dealer, but he was on drugs. And I'll never forget because he almost died. You know, heroin and fentanyl are kind of similar. And I had asked him a question. I said, well, why would you fuck with that, knowing that most people like OD off of that? And, you know, I guess people are so strung out on it because of the fact it's a better high. You know, that they want that shit that's got them trippy to the point where they going to. So that's the terrible, like, addiction. That's a terrible demon to have on you. But my point of bringing all this up is, you know, I've been incarcerated here and there, you know, even if it was just the little misdemeanor shit, you know what I mean? I made some poor decisions in the truth, you know, trying to deal with my household. And I know Jake don't judge that because what a man does with his household is that man's business. But the scriptures also say everything that's lawful is not expedient. So you got to learn to move and how to move. And, you know, if a bitch is being a headache, you leave that. You know what I mean? Again, you know, the Lord really will try you. You know what I mean? Like, how many men have had to leave their homes or leave their families? A lot. But how many more have not been able to? Probably more than the ones that have been able to leave. Because that's the Lord testing you. That's a small test. You know, a lot of brothers say that. I know that was one of my first tests. You know, and I always think about it because, you know, of course, women are demons. You know, they got wicked spirits on them. But, you know, at the same time, put it like this. The script, Paul said, he say it's better to marry than to burn, but you're going to have trouble in the flesh. So just because it look or appeared to be great for a brother that got a family and it look beautiful, but just believe brothers that got women go and catch hell. I've heard a lot of brothers say it. You know what I mean? And it's like when you literally get in the truth, that's when that demon really spark up. Well, I had a brother that the brother's no longer with us, but that brother made a powerful video. You know, all the brothers supposed to know this brother because literally they made it like every once in a while that brother video circulate. But that was the brother that literally went to jail on Mother's Day. You know, that brother from our city. You know, and the Lord called him back. And I believe the Lord called him back. You know, a lot of spiritual stuff happened between me and that. Because that brother literally gathered 4 brothers that all came into the truth. Like, it was like, and brothers always say, showing you how spiritual stuff is not about how many scriptures you know. Because brothers broke down one day, and I never knew that. It was like all he knew was, I think like 1 or 2 breakdowns. He knew a couple breakdowns. Like, we never sat and really chopped it up. Because it was weird. When I first met him, it was weird. And then one day I just happened to look up, because look, I was looking up something about Freemasonry, right? This is when I'm going through my journey. I already knew Freemasons was devils and demons and shit like that. And just so happened, he's sitting next to me. He watching the brothers. I'm looking this shit up about, the Jehovah's Witnesses people. You know, how they was Freemasons. And when you look at his tombstone, it's a pyramid. So he happened to be looking at my shit. I'm happened to be looking at him watching the brothers. And he just happened to say some shit as I'm about to leave, like, yeah, Lord coming to kill all these Freemasons and everything. So I'm like, what? But I guess he took it the wrong way. I guess he thinking I'm a Freemason or something. But I'm really researching, you know what I mean? Because, like I said, based on my testimony, long story short, and, you know, like the elder said, it's a such thing called a righteous rant, so bear with me, Baba Kashad. But show you how spiritual everything was. He popped up again, like, I don't know how long later, but he popped up again, and he just was smiling at me. Like, you know how you can feel somebody looking at you? I happened to look up, and it's him, and he's smiling now. And he was like, the Lord told him to come get me. And then I'll never forget when he introduced me to the other brothers. And I believe it was 4 of us, 3 of us is still in the truth. 2 of them still part of the camp. I'm in whatever I'm in. Hopefully I'm still in the truth. Because like the elder said, what did he say about the captain? He said he think he got 100% of the truth. You know what I mean? And that's scary. You know, pride puffing up. You know, I was just speaking on that earlier in another video. And then I think one brother, he got he got offended by something that the elder decreed, you know. I'll never forget that. And it's funny because I got upset about it. I got offended by it. And then the particular elder brother got offended because I got offended. You know what I mean? And then he walked away. So I don't know if he's still teaching or not. But the point being, the Lord funny. And terrible at the same time. You know, you can find the humor and the fear. It's funny and fearful at the same time. But anyhow, telling that testimony to say this, a lot of Jakes about to go to jail, especially with, like, literally they passing these laws to be able to deport you, these FEMA centers. If you'd be surprised, again, I know a lot of Jakes that came home and get put on, or, you know, like at one point in time when, you know, again, like I said, I've been around niggas like all my life. The only time, and we still bump into niggas. I just don't be around niggas. But the point is, you got a lot of Jakes that's going to get caught up in this fentanyl situation. And he's labeled as something like weapons of mass destruction. You got to remember when he first was running, he was talking about these gangs and whatnot being terrorist groups. You know, that's what they deem in the Mexican cartel and, you know, that's what they're trying to deem Tren de Aragua. You know, a lot of brothers be calling them MS-13, but it's not them anymore. MS-13 is not as big as Tren de Agua. So, and that was the gang that pretty much supposed to have been taking over, you know, Babylon the Great, and they had to do so much, but they painting a picture and a narrative. What's about to happen is they about to go after all these little, little neighborhood, because they watching everything being, you know, again, I remember watching a YouTube video, the police was basically watching Jake sell drugs with a drone. So now they just got the case. You just, what you gonna be able to say? How you gonna deny? I mean, but at the same time, like the one elder brother did that video, you know, you got a time of deception. So, you know, the scriptures talk about the devil's lying wonders, you know, they gonna believe a lie. Like, come on, you got AI. The brother did that video showing how dude didn't do it, but yet still, because it was on film, they saying he did it. You can't see them actually using that to persecute us. And the scriptures talk about a great persecution. Luke chapter 21, Matthew chapter 24. Persecution coming. I think Mark 13. So yeah. So, and it's all because of the Lord's wrath. You know, scriptures talk about the Lord gonna bring wrath because of the disobedient, which is 2/3 of the nation of Israel. This is the book of Colossians chapter 3. I'm gonna just get it in King James. It says, mortify therefore, Colossians 3 and verse 6, mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth for fornication, uncleanliness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. You know, it says, for which things sake the wrath of the Most High cometh on the children of disobedience, which is 2/3 nation of Israel. You know, you can even liken that onto Esau, Edom, you know what I mean? But, you know, our nation of, you know, you so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans are heavily into idolatry. You know, we was talking about Ephraim, you know, Benjamin, Levi, you know what I mean? List goes on and on. Shit, you got the nigga woman, you know, that's into, you know, you got people leaving, or especially the women of our nation leaving the church, the Christian church, in droves because of you got women that call themselves Christians probably selling box right now. You know, it's funny because I when I was homeless, I could have been with this one chick, and she called herself an evangelist, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, she doing very well, you know what I mean? But it was something about her spirit. Satan was trying to get me through that bitch. I was like, it's funny though. It says, in the which ye also walked sometime when ye lived in them. But now ye also put off all these things, anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy communication out of your mouth. Lie not one to another, seeing that ye have put off the old man with his deeds. You know, but the point being is the Lord is about to, you know, bring wrath to, you know, you tribes, you know what I mean? Because again, we in, you know, the beginning stages of Jacob's trouble. You see all these different pitfalls this devil got set up for you. You know, he like, so walk circumspectly. I'm gonna get 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 14. Behold, the plagues are sent and shall not return again until they come upon the earth. The fire is kindled and shall not be put out till it consume the foundations of the earth. Like as an arrow which is shot of a mighty archer returneth not backward, even so the plagues that shall be sent upon the earth shall not return again. And like I said, we see this thing picking up speed or steam, not stopping or slowing down. You know, like I've heard so many videos where brothers speak on how many different things didn't happen this year. So just imagine, and then that, you know, that's what I'm gonna go into, Lord willingly, on because I'm gonna try to do a New Year's evil destruction. You know, I'm gonna try to go because you know the year to come. You know, I kind of structured the lesson and everything already because you know that's exciting. Like they already pretty much telling you that cover, and if you can recognize symbols, you know, like they showing you what they plan on doing. So we got a lot to look forward to, and like brothers said, very well it could be the pushing of that micro C up next year. Well, but first, like I said again, they got to make a lot of more people suffer. You know, this is the beginning stages of it. They testing, you know, psyops and whatnot. They testing the spirit of the people, what people gonna do, how they gonna react, yada yada yada. They gave you the stamps, took the stamps away. Now they talking about if certain states don't comply, you know, democratic states, we gonna take them away. We're not gonna give them to you. So again, all this is, you know, brewing that spirit of civil war, you know, division. You know, what did he say? I came not to bring peace, but division. Luke chapter 12, verse 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? Evil's eve time, ill bad. Bad times are here. Verse 20. Verse 19, behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for amendment. That's the spirit, because I just said, that's 2nd Ezra. But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, nor be always mindful of the scourges. And I did a video earlier because at the end of the day, the 2/3 they can't get right. Just like Esau, Edom, they can't get right. You know what I mean? They, off of life, just can't get right. But the 1/3, the elect, they're going to get right. So again, I was responding to a video that the beloved elder apostle did, because at the end of the day, it's a spirit that we want to see everybody come together, as a nation. But at the same time, if you understand the scriptures, it's not meant for everybody to, be delivered on the side. It's not meant for everybody to come together. So that in itself shows that, literally you don't know the scriptures as well. No matter how good you sound on debate. I don't even watch the debates. I remember my dad used to watch certain stuff, you know what I mean? But, I remember my dad used to put on Farrakhan, and I couldn't stand that shit. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? I was in the right spirit, right? The part of the Islam doctrine, remember, they was talking about the chariots as well, if you didn't know that. So it's deep. But so my point is, I can't follow no people or their doctrine if you sit up here, you can't even see we in Jacob's trouble. You can't see that everything about to be a micro CM. You can't see these things that I see. Then hell no, I'm not following you. That'd be foolish. Like Kevin Gates said. That'd be stupid. The fuck? So I'm going to end the lesson there. If you so-called Black, Hispanic, Native American, Seminole Indian, West Indian, or Haitian, I implore you to come back to the law, statutes, commandments of your power. His true name in the Paleo Hebrew is Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahushua, you will be destroyed. With that, I want to give all praise. I want to give all honor. I want to give all glory to. Called Loyim La Yahweh. Ba'ashem Yahushua. Ba'ashem. Double honors to the elders, to the apostles I learned this truth from. Peace and salutations to the Akim across the 4 corners of the earth, pushing this truth with faith and with sincerity, as well as risking their lives and freedom to do so, not more so than ever. Shalom to the Akim and the Aquat that they're listening and learning, Lord willingly. This is edifying. Shalom to the Israelite foreigners scattered abroad in the land of other nations, appearing like the other nations, but subscribing to this truth. To you, I say shalom. Till next time, Lord willingly. Shalom, shalom. Kwame Asharallah and Mawath Lababoa.